calling the meeting to order, and if you can take roll call, please.
Thank you. Councilmember Ricardo Pacheco.
Present.
Councilmember Paul Hernandez.
Present.
Councilmember Alejandra Avila.
Present.
Mayor Pro Tem Monica Garcia.
Here.
And Mayor Emmanuel Lozano.
We'll excuse him until the regular meeting. So thank you, City Clerk. And at this time, we're going to go ahead and open the public communications. So anyone wishing to speak can has up to 3 minutes. However, if we find that there's going to be a redundancy, we're going to probably put a time frame on that. So we'll go ahead and open the public communications now.
I'd like to speak.
Okay. State your name.
Jake Cortez, Baldwin Park Cannabis Association. I'm going to go ahead and go to the front so I face everybody. So, good evening, council members. Thank you so much for having us. My name is Jake Cortez. I'm with the Baldwin Park Cannabis Association. The purpose of the BPCA is to act as an entity to collaborate with local government for the economic growth of the local cannabis industry, and in turn provide much needed funds to benefit area residents and also to create jobs. Each member of the BPCA has been compliant with the request of this body to become a legal and licensed distributor in the city of Baldwin Park. However, our members are facing crippling delays in lifting operations. To date, only one approved distributor, Ruckley Incorporated, has not only been allowed to fully operate exclusively, but also has been exempted in paying any mitigation fees. We find the preferential treatment of one operator over others to not simply be unjust, but also damaging to the true economic potential of the city. Our members who were asked and agreed to pay $220,000 each in mitigation fees were initially offered opportunities to operate as well, only to find that opportunity rescinded shortly thereafter. The BPCA and Teamsters Local 630, our union brothers and sisters who are here with us tonight, everybody wave. Teamsters, thank you so much. We're asking, and we're actually requesting that you respectfully reconsider allowing our members to acquire commercial cannabis distribution licenses. We also ask that you consider employing methods used in neighboring cities and allow for the payment of mitigation fees to be due to 90 days or whatever window you deem appropriate after the certificate of occupancy is granted, to ease the already heavy burden on our operator startup costs and ensure their success. To date, BPCA members have spent $12 million in application fees, professional services, rent, and purchase of required real estate to operate as initially agreed, only to find that our efforts have been stifled by not only the exclusive distribution to Ruckley, but also issues with city staffing and other unforeseen processing delays. Members of the council, despite these difficulties, we come here today solely not just with a message of understandable frustration, but with the spirit of supportive partnership as you conduct the difficult business of the city. As a collective of professionals in our industry, we implore that you revisit and reconsider your decision and honor your initial commitment to allow our members to become vital contributors to the local economy and trusted partners in your mission to promote ethical business practice, create good-paying union jobs, and to be trusted stewards of prosperity for the residents of Baldwin Park. At this moment, I'd like to submit this letter that was sent to the council last week on July 11th to be part of the public record. Thank you so much, council member. And I want to thank each and every one of you for your time. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yes. Hello, council. Who's mayor?
Mayor's
Mayor. Okay, that's Honorable Mayor. So my name is Alfredo Salazar. I'm with Teamster Local 630 Los Angeles. I'm here on behalf of our 7,000 members, many of whom reside in City of Baldwin Park. Our principal officer, Lou also wanted to be here. He's actually on his way here now. He's coming on negotiations, but I'd like to read a letter that was submitted to the council. So again, this is from our Secretary, Lou Villalbazo. Our local represents approximately 7,000 members in various industries, many of whom are residents of your city. Along with 23 other locals, we represent over 160,000 active members and 20,000 retirees throughout Southern California. I'm writing to you today on behalf of our members, residents, and licensed commercial cannabis operators from Baldwin Park, the CBCA, the BPCA, who have entered into a partnership. Okay. We would like to begin by commending the Baldwin Park City Council for its efforts in implementing a cannabis ordinance which reflects the will over voters and the state of California, as many evident by passage of Proposition 64. However, as you may be aware, for the past 2 years, operators in the city of Baldwin Park have faced a multitude of obstacles that have caused delays in their ability to begin operations. It has come to our attention that the city of Baldwin Park has given preferential treatment to a specific operator by allowing them to operate while paying zero in mitigation fees by virtue of their existing development agreement. Additionally, Teamster Local 630 is perplexed that the city of Baldwin Park initially issued distribution licenses to 10 operators only to rescind them just a few days later. It is also troubling that the city then offered these same 10 operators the opportunity to reacquire distribution licenses for an additional $222,000. We have been informed that these operators were willing to pay the separate $220,000 distribution license fee before the city ultimately decided to grant exclusive distribution rights to Rookley, thereby forfeiting approximately $2.2 million in potential revenue for the city. The exclusive agreement with Rookley has been directly responsible for operators losing investors, potential clients, and co-branding opportunities because it prevents the likelihood of Baldwin Park operators to be successful in this emerging industry. Excuse me. The council's actions have created an unequal playing field for which has been compounded by the city's staffing issues.
It's your time.
Okay, so let me just close on this. It's a letter I'm reading. Obviously, I can't see it that good, but Teamster Local 630 has partnered up with the Baldwin Park Cannabis Association to provide good jobs for the residents, which many of them who are our members here in the city. There's an opportunity for good jobs. There's opportunity for good middle class jobs with benefits. So, all we're asking for is fair treatment for these operators to provide good jobs that'll create revenue and many new members. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Alfredo?
Yes.
Do we have any other speakers? Okay,
Yes, sir.
seeing no further interest, we'll go ahead and close public communications. And we are going to move to the open session item, housing options presentation by Housing Manager Susie Ruales. After the presentation, we'll go into closed session. So during closed session, it's basically, it's only the city council that's allowed. And then we'll move to our regular meeting at 7 p.m. Okay, so the next item. Susie.
Okay. Good evening, council members, members of the City Council. I appreciate the opportunity to present this information to you tonight pertaining to the city's and the housing authority's housing programs. As council members are approached probably daily by so many residents, and more so recently, seeking assistance with housing. I'm hoping to provide valuable information to you in your response to be able to respond to the residents' needs. As you notice on the first slide, there are two separate logos. Although they look the same, they are actually separate. One is the city housing. We have two separate divisions under the housing department. Divisions. One is the City Housing Administrative CDBG Home and Housing Funds, formerly known as Housing Set Aside. The other is the Baldwin Park Housing Authority, which administers Section A, public housing and project-based vouchers. The Baldwin Park Housing only provides rental assistance programs. The jurisdiction includes 5 cities: Monrovia, West Covina, Almonte, South Almonte, and of course Baldwin Park. We also have 6 project-based vouchers, only 6 units in Covina that we agreed to administer as a favor to HUD request. The funds to administer the programs in the Housing Authority are directly from HUD and fall into 2 categories for Section 8. The admin fees, which are distributed for each unit under a HALP contract, a housing assistance payment contract with the Housing Authority. For example, the current fee from HUD is $98.23 per unit. Times that by the number of units. For this example, we used 430. Times that by 12 months, and you get an estimated annual admin fee of a little over $500,000 from HUD. The next category of funds we receive from HUD is the HAP reimbursement. All the funds that the Housing Authority provides for housing assistance payments are directly reimbursed to us from HUD. The important factor to note here is low number of units equals low admin fee, and it can also result in reduced future housing assistance payments from HUD. The waiting list was last open in 2016 for 1 week and still resulted in over 8,000 names Of those, only 2,000 were accepted as applicants based on a system-generated pool. To keep everything transparent, we invited the San Gabriel Valley Tribune to attend and view the pool, and there was an article highlighting the process. The Baldwin Park Housing Authority also has public housing, which is the 12 units at 100% senior housing units. That's 100% occupied. Currently, we're working with HUD for the disposition of these units. There's a new program called RAD, our voluntary disposition. Ben will then be working with HUD to possibly convert these into maybe Section 8. There's a whole process to this. We're still really learning from HUD the process, and actually they're even going through some learning themselves, learning process, because it is a new program. The important factor to note here is no relocation for elderly tenants will be required. They will be allowed to stay there. Most likely it'll even work out better for them because they may be issued a Section 8 voucher, which can now let them go anywhere they choose to go, as opposed to being only restricted to these units, which again, though, people love these units because they're right next to Morgan Park and the family senior housing. I'm sorry, what's it called? Senior Center. The funds provided for the public housing include capital funds, which is averaging about $18,000 a year, and operating subsidy funds, which is about $25,000 a year. As you'll know, that's not very much to operate 12 units, 2 separate buildings, including common grounds. It includes the roof, everything that's required to pass for the REAC inspections for HUD, and that's why we're looking at doing the disposition. We also have project-based vouchers. That is an option. As I stated, we have 6 vouchers in the city of Covina right now, which was under an acquisition rehab program. And we also have it optional for new development that we could work with the new developers that you're talking to about providing affordable housing. The important note to remember about those is that 70% of the project-based tenants must meet extremely low income eligibility at 30% of the median income. That means if we have 100 units, 70 of those units have to be extremely low, at the very lowest. The other services that we provide are the Housing Rights Center. They provide tenant and property owner workshops in both English and Spanish, and I believe there's other languages if necessary. And they also have a hotline and advice that you can call. We give them out the number when people call us about private quarrels between the property owners and tenants that are not Section 8. We send them directly to the Housing Rights Center for the advice, for direct advice. We also partner with Bank of the West for homebuyer workshops. They actually conducted 2 workshops for us already, and one for city employees, and it included refinancing, homebuyer, credit counseling, and financial topics were included. We also partner with the Neighborhood Legal Services for legal aid information to our tenants and to residents. And then the Neighborhood Housing Services and Habitat for Humanity, which partner with us for home buying and home improvement programs.
Susie, can I?
Sure.
If you don't mind, regarding the hotline / advice, do you guys have a number of how many folks you guys speak with on average?
We will get that at the end of the year, and so they should have actually provided it to us. It's included in our our CAPER, our Consolidated Annual Performance Report, because we do give them
Are we
seating
doing
achievement.
it, or is it another third party?
It's the Housing Rights Center.
Okay.
Yes,
And
and
then
so they're.
And then on the Neighborhood Housing Service and Habitat for Humanity, how many homes have we recently applied that program to in Baldwin Park?
That we don't monitor because we send them directly to them, and they move from there. So we do it as a referral if it's something that's going to be over our $45,000 limit. So then we don't hear from them after that unless we call them to get a number, which I can do for you.
So
and the Habitat for Humanity is fairly new, and I don't believe they've had any projects with this.
So under 45,000, we have the flexibility or the option to work with individuals' homes to help remodel?
Yes, we have a loan of up to $45,000.
Oh, it's a loan.
Yes, it's a loan. We have a grant of $10,000 and a loan of up to $45,000, and then anything over that, which again the prices for construction is probably higher. You might want to consider going higher than that.
But the
You can
Neighborhood
go to
Housing and Service / Habitat, is that a loan that they?
Yes, they provide loans as well, and we
So
have a
that's
better
forced
interest
service?
rate.
So, 1 second. So that's a forced service offer, or is that a grant to those individuals?
It is a loan to the individuals, and I'm not sure when you're saying forced service.
Are they charging them?
No, it's just the loan. It's just the loan and interest. They're not being charged for.
But they are being charged through the loan.
Well, through the loan. I mean, it's a better rate than what they would get from a bank, and it's income limit restricted. And so they're not being charged a service fee, but it is a loan.
So it's based on a person's income.
Yes.
And it is a loan, but at a better rate.
At a better
than they
rate
would
than-
find at other things.
Yes.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you.
And what is the maximum pool for that if people were interested?
The loan amount, you mean?
Yeah. Well,
I believe
mean,
there's.
like if we wanted to promote that type of program to our residents, I
They-
want to know what's the maximum, what's the capacity, how many people could apply for
Okay.
that type of loan?
The city's loan of the $45,000, I believe it's only good enough for about maybe 4 or 5 loans. But the Habitat for
Yeah.
Humanity and the Neighborhood Housing Services, only until their funding runs out, and they have a larger pool because they're
Yeah.
county based.
We could refer people and they'll have a lot of money, but then maybe towards the end of the year it runs out, so.
Mhm. So,
And they also provide services to other cities,
So in reality, the $45,000 loan to our residents, only like 4 or 5 of them could apply and draw that down. Yeah.
With the current funding that we have, yes. You can also increase it, but
Do people actually use that loan, or
They
are
haven't-
they aware of it?
they haven't lately. Michelle Bravo, our housing specialist, is actually going to start working at the community center, the Thursday events park, Constantine Park, to start providing more of an outreach. We haven't been able to do the property owner outreach as we can. The problem is many of the units that are in the condition that need it are several rental units. We can't provide it to rental. I'm sorry, to rental
Yeah,
units. It has to be
renter.
property owner.
Mhm.
And then the seniors are not the ones coming out. So what she'll do is drive around with code enforcement, and while they go into the siding, we go and provide the possible resources to fix the unit.
But it's good to know.
Yes, it's very good to know. It's a
Business
great
market-
program.
Business market, it's good, it's good to know.
It's a great program, and the fear is many of the residents did get fearful during the housing crisis that they were going to lose their properties to the city, and we tell them all the time that's not the goal. We'll work with you, and we let them know all the time that we're here for them. The homeless programs, which I know is very special to you, the Measure H right now is really a planning and social service funds. It's really not for new development or affordable housing at this time. What we did receive funds for through Measure H was a planning grant, which our planning department is working with Eureka, who's very good, by the way. I love Eureka. She is going to be working with them to look at land sites and possible other incentives for developers that can be used through the Measure H type of program. So that's still out there. There's a lot to learn on this one, but I want you all to know, because I know that the word's been out there that there's these funds, but right now it's really only for planning grants and some social service grants.
Planning efforts, is that done again in Baldwin Park, or are partner cities also?
It's both. It is both. We have a planning grant for Baldwin Park alone, and then a planning grant for the partner cities.
So the planning grant is so that we can start collaborating with others, start, trying to figure out, like putting our heads together, trying to tackle the homeless, the regional issue with those partnering cities. What about the social service funds? What does that provide to us?
That could be, for example, the police department needed a place to store the materials that were taken or left by a homeless person. They need a place to store it. It would be for something like that. I'm not sure what else Eureka.
What about services for the homeless people? Like transportation services, or to get somebody to a shelter or something like that. Is that also, or?
Because it's a social service program, that's more Eureka's point, and I apologize for not knowing
So
that.
Eureka would know that.
Eureka would know
We'll
that,
ask her
yes.
then. Okay.
Okay. The homeless providers and partners that we do work with are the East San Gabriel Valley Coalition for the Homeless, the Volunteers of America, Union Station, the Veterans Affairs, which provide vouchers, Pacific Clinics, which assist homeless for mentally ill, and our own Family Service Center, Terry Muse Family Service Center, and then we do work with local churches as well, who provide food bank services and showers and other services that the churches do provide for homeless. With the Measure H program and with all of our homeless partners, you are required to go through the Coordinated Entry System, the CES, and registration is needed to access the services, and that's just to monitor and ensure, where let's say this person started here and that's going here, and they just keep the same person in the system forever. And so that system eventually will also coincide with the HUD programs, and with Section 8, there's programs that Section 8 can eventually use where as long as they're in the system as well. And so there's that system's a really great way to monitor and provide services.
Through the system that you have there, is that essentially the whole wraparound services?
Yes, the coordinated entry system includes every type of homeless program there is, all wraparound services, everything. And most of the people, especially those that are getting funds through Measure H, they're required to use that system. And so even I believe we will at one point, I believe there might be some training for either staff to do it, or we have someone here on staff are available, like a satellite office, to provide, to get people into the system.
And that system is available through United Way, right? Like
Yes.
Working with other nonprofits, or how does that work?
It is like through Volunteers of America,
Uh-huh.
and I forgot United Way on
right.
here, Union Station. Many of them that when we refer them, they automatically put in there. They're put in there.
Yeah.
And I know that I believe Eureka is trying to get a satellite office or somewhere close by to start getting our tenants, our residents into that system.
So you think that training to get into that, to tap into that system will be available to us as a city at some point in the future?
I don't know if they're going that route where they're expecting staff to do it. That might be a Shannon answer, or if they're going to ask for a satellite office who has somebody who is trained here. I'm not sure what
I
they've
see.
decided on that
So
yet.
like a nonprofit having a satellite office and staff dedicated to a certain region?
Yes,
Okay.
it would work out great in the Family Service Center, anywhere like that.
That would be nice.
It would be great. The type of services that they do provide currently right now are chronic homeless services, where you'll see the beds, temporary shelter, transitional housing, which is one of my favorite, case management, and food banks. The city housing, we also have other options. So when someone calls us and says we want to get on Section 8, well, we may not be able to because our Section 8 waiting list is closed. We can send them to other sites that have their own waiting list, and these are some of the few that do.
So I have a question. Going back to the slide before this, same kind of concept with the services offered. Do we have a list of those services? Like, I know, like let's say sometimes I'll call Manny Garillo and I'll ask him, what services could be available for a person. But do we have like a list that maybe people can offer to people, on the streets, and say these are the food banks, this is the housing, shelters that could be available? Do we offer that?
I believe the housing has something that has a list of all these names and numbers. It includes food banks, includes all of our public services through CDBG, and these people, I believe that has a paperwork. Rather, other cities, other staff provider, other divisions provided. I'm not sure. I would be highly surprised if the Family Service Center doesn't have that type of list. I'm sure that they would have as well.
Make sure we can put that information on our website.
Chief, I have a quick question. Chief, doesn't, am I wrong in saying that our police officers do have pamphlets with that type of information to give to the homeless where they can go for services?
Yes.
And they do hand them out as they see them on there? Thank you.
So we'll make sure it's put on the website as well.
Can we also just make sure that whatever information that we have on the website is the same information, or it's
Definitely.
the same that the folks have there? So
And
it's-
parks.
Yeah,
Definitely.
it's basically about how do we share that information with the people that really need it, is really the question, right? And it could be through our police officers, it could be through Rec and Parks, because I know I will often call Rec and Parks for vouchers, things like that, if I see somebody on the street and they need help. But just having a more systematic approach, because I feel like that's, just a one-off, like me calling and trying to help somebody.
Yeah.
But having a more systematic approach.
I agree, and the Measure H and the CES is actually headed in that direction for all of us. So I think that's really great. Again, these are the ones that have their own waiting list. This is just a list, and what we do is refer people to them. And many times, their waiting list is a lot shorter than ours. So that gives some people a little bit of hope, but it still may be a year to 5 years, or we're 5 years to 10 years, the waiting list. The other resources that we provide, again, we do have our home funds, which is for new development. That's for the rehab programs, the housing set-aside funds, the Measure H, and the density bonus projects. You'll see that little picture right there. It includes density bonus projects, and if I'm sure you're all familiar with the density bonus projects. And then we're looking at new development for affordable housing. Part of the Measure H is initiatives to developers for providing affordable housing. I know they're looking at ADUs as well, and then planning and land development studies. And I get asked all the time, what is the current income limits? This is it right now. For a family of 4, to be considered the 30% that I was mentioning, they can make up to $31,300. And the highest amount of income for most of our federal funds go up to the 80%, and that means a family of 4 can make up to $83,500, which seems extremely high to me because I remember when I first started, it was in the 40,000s as 80%. So the other question that we get all the time is the affordable rents. People complain about the affordable rents, for example, the Rome Project or the Telecus or the Via Ramonas. The affordable rents, depending on their funding that they provide. So, for example, Via Ramona was almost strictly housing tax credits. This is the amount that tax credits, if you can take one and pass it around to them, it's the amount that tax credits are allowed to fund, and you'll see Los Angeles County. So for a 2-bedroom, it does go based on the income. A 30% will pay $705 for a 2-bedroom. But a family of 4, a family of 60% or higher can pay up to $1,400 for a 2-bedroom. Well, that may seem high to someone. An actual 2-bedroom on the market right now is almost $2,000, if not over. So it is maybe high for that specific family, but it is still lower than the market. And then we also have the home funds, which Rome has. And you'll look at on this sheet, it says the very last one, Los Angeles County. They have high rent and low rent, and it's either 50 or 60%. And for a 2-bedroom, a high rent can go up to $1,200 a month. So again, that may be hard for some to handle with their income. It is still lower than the market will be. Now, Section 8, project-based vouchers and public housing, they do go based on their actual income. If a family makes $1,000 a month, they will probably pay around $300 a month. That is different. Most of that's only Section 8. Most of our projects, again, these affordable housing projects that are being built don't fall under that category, and that's when you'll get the complaints that their rents are going up. Mm-hmm. They go up when the tax credit allows or when HUD allows through the home program.
And what percentage does it go up?
It's based on their HUD study. They go based on the fair market. It's a whole calculation that we get directly from either the state or from the federal government. Now, while we can't help everyone, I think it's really important to note the people that we are able to help. And right now we have about 522 owner-occupied affordable units with the low-income families. We have over 530 that are non-Section 8 units. They're either HUD-owned, well, the project-based are private. And then we have the Section 8, which is, we have 420 spread out through our 5 jurisdictions. Of those 420, we have 144 Baldwin Park units. And on our waiting list right now, these numbers have actually probably changed since last I did this. We're probably looking at, out of that 2,000, we have about 1,700. And we're pulling about 70 to 100 a month to try to increase those numbers so that we don't lose funds at the end of the month.
Do you know how many Section 8 units we have here at Rome?
At Rome we have 8.
We have 8. And how do we determine how many we get?
That was done early on at the table. Prior administration, early on the initial discussions. What we try to do is when you limit the amount of Section 8, you increase the amount of other units available for other families. The Section 8 families can take their voucher and go anywhere else, and they're already on the waiting list. The other families that have nothing to offer, that was the intent, to give the other units as an opportunity for those not on the waiting list, not in a program right now. So that's where I believe Rome came up with the 8. In Via Ramona, we have 15. Talicu, we have, I want to say 10 or 12.
And with the project-based projects like Rome and the other ones you just mentioned, how long will that stay, the pricing model there?
It's usually a 30-year or 45-year covenant. And then they can opt out. For example, we have Clark Terrace that we have got letters saying that they're considering opting out of their contract in January. If they do opt out, those tenants get Section 8 vouchers. If they choose to remain, they remain project-based vouchers. Most of the time they choose to remain. However, sometimes they do choose to opt out. We had a couple opt-outs and we gave them Section 8 vouchers before. Okay, that I believe is it for me.
Do you mind if I get a copy of your presentation?
Definitely, I will send it to you.
Did you email it to me?
I will definitely send it to you.
Thank
I
you,
I
sir.
have a question.
Oh. Okay.
Talk about, I guess, you have some capital funding to, you go back to that slide?
Yes, that would be the project, our McNeil Matter funds. Yes.
Okay, when you say funds, capital, where does that money come from?
HUD.
Oh, it's from HUD.
Mhm.
They give you, I have about 18,000 to, is that a year?
A year to maintain the units. And the operating subsidy, it's to maintain, includes when appliances go out, windows are broken, the maintenance, the everyday maintenance, and it does include some admin. It does allow for some admin.
Okay.
Okay.
Quick question, when they convert from a project base to, say, Section 8, when they want to get out of the agreement that you just mentioned?
Yes.
The cost for relocation or the cost for, moving them over to Section 8 or any of that, does that get carried over to the property owner or is that on us?
That would be HUD directly, but there really is no relocation. We give them the voucher, and they have the option to relocate or stay at those units. Now, if the property owner wants to get rid of that specific tenant, they have to give them a 90-day notice, and they're able to do so unless there's violations, and they only have to do the 3-day notice. But the voucher is the relocation expense, the cost of the relocation.
Now, when they choose to opt out, do they automatically raise the rent on them, or
They
what's
can.
your experience?
They can. Most of the time, they do go market.
So that puts the families in a bind now, because you giving them the voucher doesn't guarantee they're going to find a place to live immediately.
It doesn't necessarily put them in the bind because now they have the voucher, so they're paying based on their income, and we're paying the difference.
Okay, so they can stay in the
They
property.
can stay there.
Okay.
Yes.
And Susie, going back to the last slide where you have a breakdown of the number of affordable housing units, let's see, yeah, right there. So I see here affordable rental housing units. You have HUD, private, and VPHA,
Yes.
530 units. Does that like include Telecu and
That includes the
Yeah.
Telecu, the Via Ramona.
those projects that were approved like
Many
ago?
years.
And affordable owner-occupied units. So, okay, so really, 522 we have, so tell me a little bit about those.
We had the program, the down payment assistance program, and the first-time homebuyer program since the early 90s, or probably late mid-90s. And so they're, and I don't believe they're counted here, like the down payment assistance, those are 10-year loans. Many of them have been paid off, but we had a very successful program at one point. This also includes all the DC court projects, any density bonds,
Set-asides,
housing set-aside
20%
projects, yes.
Set aside.
Yes.
Okay, so all of that added up to 522.
Yes. This, and we also had our neighborhood, what's it called, NSP neighborhoods. Oh gosh, NSP.
Neighborhood, what is it, preservation during the
Yeah.
ARA, like the ARA fund?
Yes, it was the RF funds, and that's when we had. It was only 3, but that was probably one of the funnest projects that we did, where we have we acquisition rehab, and a veteran, an Iraq war veteran, got it with his family. He was a lifelong Baldwin Park resident,
Yeah.
a Baldwin Park Unified School District employee, and a single mother.
And those would be the 3 units out of the 522.
Those are included 3, yes, in there.
So the Section 8 housing choice, those 420 units, those are vouchers that we've offered.
Those are the 420 units are now actually leased units, and they are within our 5 jurisdictions.
5 jurisdictions.
The
Okay, so
144 are Baldwin Park alone.
Okay. Okay, good. That's good to know.
All right, thank
Okay,
you.
Thank you.
Appreciate that.
Thank you for the presentation. You did give us a lot of information that we need. And we'll sit on it for a little bit, and we'll come back with more questions.
And I don't know if I'm supposed to say this, but I'm here till July 31st. If you have any questions after that, I will be gone. Okay?
All right.
Thank you.
We'll think about it quick.
Okay.
All right, so at this point, we're going to go ahead and go to closed session. So anybody that is not on the city council, we'd ask you to vacate. And like I said, we'll meet you downstairs at 7 p.m.
Any questions?